Hi and welcome to ChemCentre. I'm Jane and it's my job as Outreach Officer to bring you some of the exciting stories about the science happening behind the scenes here with some of the state's top scientists. Chemistry is involved in everything people do, from growing and cooking food to developing future power solutions. And ChemCentre is the WA State Chemical Laboratory. Here we use our chemical expertise to analyse a range of items from honey and food products to soil, water and even air. Now today we're going to follow an item or a sample through our chemical analytical laboratory. ChemCentre is an accredited facility approved for conducting analyses under the Food Act, which means we perform analysis on produce grown in WA to ensure that it meets regulatory requirements according to the Food Standard Code. Our sample today will be this beautiful apple, and our scientists will be testing the apple for traces of pesticides to ensure that it meets these requirements. Let's go then. The first stop is Sample Receivals.
Hi, I'm Kevin from the Sample Management team. All samples delivered to ChemCentre come to our team first before going to the lab for analysis. We need to know what the sample is, who it's from, how much there is, and what type of test needs to be performed. Once we have all that information, we can make sure it goes to the correct laboratory team for analysis. Now for this beauty, I'll just complete this documentation with all those details and then take the sample up to our food experts.
Hi, I'm Jenny and I'm a laboratory technician at ChemCentre. My job here is to prepare samples for analysis. Sometimes this means that we need to change the physical properties of our samples. So for an apple, this means changing it from a solid form into a liquid form so our instruments can analyse it. This process can take a number of steps. But first, let's look at the sample. It's made up of all different parts: the skin, the flesh, the stem, and even the seeds. Our instruments are very sensitive, so we only need a small amount of the sample that still represents the entire chemical makeup of this apple. Our first step is to transform the sample into a homogeneous form, which means that the composition is uniform throughout the mixture. We can use a blender to achieve this. When the apple comes out from the blender, it looks a little bit like applesauce. Here's one I prepared earlier. Now that we have our homogeneous form of the apple, we can weigh out a portion to extract just the chemicals we're interested in. To do this, we're going to add an organic solvent. Give it a good mix. And the chemicals that we're looking for gets trapped in the solvent. This mixture is much easier for our instruments to analyse than that mushiness. Now I'll just transfer this mixture into a vial that then goes onto the instrument for testing. Sample.
Hi, my name is Santisha. I'm one of the analytical chemists at ChemCentre. Today we're going to be analysing apple samples for pesticides. Thank you, Jenny, for preparing the samples for me. During the sample preparation, we have now transferred all the compounds of interest into the organic layer, which we will be analysing on a gas chromatography mass spectrometer. Let's pop it on here and hit start. So what is a GCMS? We have just seen our injector inject the sample onto the injection port. Our liquid sample is now converted into vapor in the injection port
set at a very high temperature. From the injection port, the sample is passed through the GC column, which is kept at a regulated temperature in an oven. In the column, we have the inert gas flowing through it known as carrier gas, which sweeps the sample through the column. Now that the sample has passed through your GC column, where all the compounds of interest are separated and then passed on to your mass spectrometer, which will tell us what sort of pesticides are present in the apple sample and how much is there.
Here's an example of a typical chromatogram. We're going to look at it in more detail. Each peak on a chromatogram corresponds to each pesticide that can possibly be found in an apple, and the area of each peak corresponds to its concentration. As an analytical chemist, I will now process the data into an Excel format and pass it on to our reporting chemist.
I'm Ibi, I'm the reporting chemist, and it is my job to review the results produced by the analytical chemist and for me to provide a report to the client that is easily understood. So when I generate a report, it will look very similar to this report, and it will list all the pesticides that we've tested and how much of each pesticide we actually found. An important part of my role is to interpret the results so they can be easily understood by the client.
Thanks for joining me on the journey today, giving you a small window to see what we do here at ChemCentre and why we do it. We believe in chemistry for the benefit of every West Australian, and testing fresh produce to ensure that it's safe is just one way that we achieve this vision. As you can probably see, everyone here loves science, no matter what their role. I hope that in sharing their work and their passion, you may also be inspired to consider a science career pathway. Till next time.